Hello and welcome back to the layout. For those of you who have been following the layout progress through the construction videos and layout updates, this probably won't be anything new to you, but I thought since I've been doing a lot of bench work that I'd go ahead and do an in-depth tutorial or how-to on how to do open grid bench work. So it's nothing fancy, but I thought, I'm doing it right now, so I might as well just include it. So hopefully this video will give you some sense of what it takes to build just open grid bench work. So I'll go through some of the measurements we need to take, and then also equipment and safety precautions and all that. Okay, so now I want to talk briefly about the materials that we'll be using. As you see over here, we have some lumber, and there are plenty of materials that you can use. A lot of people prefer to use 1x4s for doing open grid or L grid or bench work, but we've been using 1x2s just because they're light, and with proper reinforcement they can be just as strong as 1x4s. The other thing that you'll need is some sort of power drill. This is helpful for actually assembling the pieces once we make the cuts. And then the screws that we're using don't need to be super long. I mean, if you're using some sort of dimensional board that's only 1 inch deep, we're using 1 5/8 inch screws, and that's good enough. The other tool that we'll be using is this giant chop saw. So you don't necessarily need one of these. This has like the sliding guide, and it also has a pretty cool laser feature, but anything will work really. It's just it's preferable to have some sort of circular saw, and it just makes it easy to make accurate cuts. So we'll be using that. The last thing to consider when you're using these tools is that you need to think about safety. So I didn't bring them over here, which is probably a bad idea, but I do have safety glasses that I'll be wearing, and you need to put those on if you're working with any sort of power tool, just to protect your eyes. So make sure you consider that. Alright, so we want our bench work that we're building right now to be 12 inches deep. I don't know exactly what this is here, but I think this is approximately 12 inches. Not even. I don't know how to visualize things. Okay, so that's closer to 12 inches. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, these 1x2s, the actual dimension are more like 0.75 inches by 1.5 inches. So if this is 12 inches deep, we need to subtract 0.75 inches here and 0.75 inches here, and that'll give us a cross piece length of 10.5 inches. So I've actually already gone ahead and marked this right here, if you can see that, and just take a tape measure, a ruler or something, and a Sharpie, just make a quick mark there. You can even use a pencil. And I'm actually not going to make any more marks past this point. We're going to have about 6 to 8 cross pieces, but I don't want to base my other measurements off this mark. I'm just going to make one cut here, and then whatever this length is, I will use that to determine the length of the other cross pieces. Idea. Alright, so now we have it aligned, I'm going to make the first cut. Alright, and then pull it up all the way, and then your guard should come down. So for those of you who use the saw, no big deal, just wanted to point those things out. Anyway, so there's our first bore. As you can see, pretty much cut it right down the middle of our mark, so that's good. And as I said, I actually haven't marked the rest of this board. So take this, which should be exactly 10.5 inches long, take this, line it up flush with the end down here, and then just take your Sharpie and draw a line across, and then all these should be pretty much exactly the same. So now we're just going to do the same thing, and I'll keep moving down the line. Again, just checking that this is all squared up, so I'll just push there. Alright, and then just go ahead and put this in and hold it tight a little bit. As you saw, I'm just using one screw, and I know a lot of people will tell you not to do that. You should use two, or you should at least use wood glue. But you can do it however you want. I just use one screw. It's good enough for us. We haven't had any issues. Eventually we might come back in with a nail gun if we find that these are loose or something, but if you do it right, like I have here, they're super tight. So I'm just showing you the absolute minimum, but you can definitely step it up from here. So. Alright, so there you have it. This is our open grid benchwork section. As you can see, I propped it up against this vertical support on the peninsula. I'm not going to screw it in right now, but for example, if I did just leave it at this height, all you do is probably take two 1 5/8 inch screws and put them in on each vertical support, and you should be good. And then you'd also want to add some sort of support under this, either a leg or angled braces. Angled braces would be more clean and probably the more popular choice to use. So I'm not going to show that right now just because I don't know exactly where this is going to go since we're in the process of actually building a layout. But hopefully that helped in some way. Hopefully it was enjoyable. I know it's really simple. I didn't show you anything profound, but you know, we're going to have other benchwork methods that we'll be using, like L-girder stuff, so I want to eventually do a how-to on that later down the road that'll be a little more involved and a little more interesting. So if you follow our layout progress through the layout construction videos or the updates, that's great. But you know, if this is your first time seeing the layout, I definitely encourage you to come check it out. It's me, my dad, and then also a friend who's going to be working on this. So we're in the process of building a double deck layout right now. So again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and definitely look for more content soon.